If you're below a 20% show up rate on your webinars, in this video, I'm gonna be showing you the top secrets that we use in our company and all of our clients to increase their show rate and oftentimes above 30%. Now for us, a KPI is 25% and above. If you're below 20, that's where you're in the red zone and you need to get it up. And I'm gonna show you exactly why that's happening to you and the different steps that you can take to fix it. And if you're first time here, my name is Michael. We help people like yourself scale their webinars. So the biggest problem that I find with coaches is that their show up rate is shit on all of their webinars. Usually they're sitting below a 20% and they can't figure out how to get it up. But before you learn all the little tricks and tactics to actually do this, you have to understand sometimes why your show up rate is so bad. And this is something that most people don't even think about or look at. And the first thing is what you picked actually for your topic. Now, oftentimes you'll pick some topic that is kind of boring, bland. You don't even really like the topic. You just kind of picked it because it's what you teach, right? But it's not fully optimized. Your headline is boring, your cost per lead is high, and people just don't want to show up to the webinar. Like, you haven't made it more attractive for them to actually show up. So first, look at your actual topic. I did an entire video on this whole topic thing as well that you can watch below, but that's like the first thing that I look at is if you pick a bad topic, the rest of your webinar is gonna suck, right? You're not gonna get the people to show up, you're not gonna get opens, they just don't even want to be there, right? And so the second thing that almost nobody figures out is lead quality. Now, the reason I know this is because we run close to 300 and 400 webinars a year, and we would run into certain scenarios where we'd have a webinar that's performing really good, we're getting the show ups, and then suddenly we get this drop. And you're like, okay, well, the ads are the same, the SMS, the emails, everything's the same. Why are we getting such a low show up rate all of a sudden? And come to find out that it comes down to your lead quality. And what we found was that brokies tend to not show up. The reason that they're broke is because they don't commit to things. And it just makes total sense that, of course, you're gonna have a low show up rate because these people typically will opt in for something, not commit, not do what they say they're gonna do, and not actually be there. And so this is a really big problem that I found, that the first thing that we'll diagnose is we'll look into the actual lead quality. What do your applications say? Do you have a pre-webinar application that tells us how much money these people have, right? Are they all broke? Are your sales team pissed that they're dealing with this? And so that's one of the biggest indications of people not showing up is that they just don't have money, right? They are the people that literally what I call the dreamers. They just dream all the time and they just waste everybody's time. And so these people all the time do not show up to these webinars. And so higher quality webinars tend to have higher show rates. Anytime we've had some of our best premium webinars, they're always above 30% show rate. And if you're above 30% show rate on complete cold traffic, you're absolutely crushing it, right? If you can get above 30, sometimes 40%, dude, banger numbers, right? Not as easy to do, but we look for 25% and above. We're in a good position. 30% and above, you got to scale that thing. So those are the first two things that we typically will look at immediately when we're diagnosing a webinar, not even looking at all of the setup, because there's the techie side of it that we'll go here in a second. The techie side of the SMS, the emails, what you're saying and all of that, how you're sending it, when you're sending it, that's the tech side. But first, if you can't get the right people there, that's why you have this problem. So let's dive into the actual tech side and what you need to be setting up if you do feel like you have the right audience. So the first step that most people do is your email and SMS reminders, right? But there's a little bit of different way that we want to do these, or the amount that we want to do, that most people actually don't. I get a lot of pushback on this when we first start from a lot of different teams, especially team members internally. And they usually are like, oh, that's way too much. You're gonna bug people, right? You're gonna piss people off. You're gonna get spam, right? And so I just want to be clear here that if you don't do these things, just expect to make less money, right? So do you want to make less money, or do you want to make more money? And if you piss off a couple people, it is what it is, right? It's cold traffic. There's millions and millions of people in the world. Don't worry about it. You are trying to get as many people to show up as possible. So the first thing are emails and SMS. And so what we like to do with our emails and SMS is we want to send at least one per day for the entire duration, right? And so we normally advertise on free webinars, let's say, about 5 days out, but we always will set it up for about 7 days out. And so we'll have 7 days worth of emails and SMS every single day, right? So one per day. Do not think you're gonna be bugging people. Do not think you're gonna bombard people. I can guarantee you that somebody, when they sign up, they're not even gonna remember that they signed up in 10 minutes, right? They don't even remember that they signed up yesterday if they haven't got an email or SMS today about the event. They will forget, okay? And so this is you making sure that they remember. Now, the only time that people are pissed off or they think you're spamming them is when you're sending boring ass reminders and useless emails that provide zero value to them, right? Just to be clear, do not send those standard, hey, the webinar is tomorrow at this time and date, see you there. Like, no one gives a shit. Like, that's not providing value. That's not getting them excited to actually show up, right? So you want to send one per day. So the second thing, in every single one of them, you want to have like a date and a countdown, right? And so what I mean by that, so date, countdown. So what I mean by that is you want to say, hey, the webinar is in 3 days on Tuesday, the 17th at 7 p.m. PST, right? However you want to position it, however your days or whatever it is, you want to make sure that you literally map it out for them every single time. You tell them how far it is, you tell them the day of the week. Do not skip this, okay? There's too many times where I see people say, hey, it's on July 17th. I'm like, I don't know when that is. I don't remember what date that is. I don't have my calendar in front of me. Tuesday, July 17th, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that's actually a date, but say the day of the week plus the date plus the time, okay? Every single one of them. So as you're creeping up closer, hey, the webinar is in 5 days on this date, right? Hey, the webinar's in 4 days on this date. Hey, the webinar's in 3 days on this date. You are not going to be repetitive. You're just going to be very clear with people. People need it to be easy. Once they read that, they 100% know exactly when it is, right? Do not confuse these people, right? So the next thing you want to add in these is the name of the event, right? And so you stack the day countdown with the name of the event. Hey, it's 3 days until the wealth workshop on date and time, right? Always say exactly what it is, okay? Like, you want to be super, super clear with people. Like, the first line of every single text that we send is almost the same. We switch it up just a little bit. It's like, hey, 3 days until the wealth workshop on this. Then, hey, the wealth workshop is in 3 days on this. Hey, 48-hour countdown until the wealth workshop link, right? Like, always say those things, because people need to not think about it. They don't need to be like, oh, what day is it, right? They don't need to think, oh, what did I sign up for? Because again, like, they're going to forget. Like, if you don't send them something every day, they will forget tomorrow that they were supposed to go, right? And so make sure you're always adding the name of event in every single one of them. And number 4, you want to make sure that you always have the link. There are so many times, and you may be doing this right now, that people won't send the link until like literally the last day. They're like, the first onboarding email, the first registration email is like, hey, thanks so much for registering. Keep a lookout for the link. It's like, dude, just send them the link. Like, what happens if they're trying to look for the link at the very last minute, or they don't get the SMS, they don't get the email, right? Or something happens with their email, like they go look back and your onboarding email says, we'll send you the link. Like, make sure every single SMS and email have the link in it, right? Because I'm telling you, people are not the smartest all the time, right? Like, you need to make it as stupid simple as possible to have very easy access to access your webinar. And the last thing that you want in your email and SMS is actually having value in them, right? So like I said before, you don't want to send those standard, like, boring reminders. Like, you need to jam pack these things with actual value and reiterating the reason why they're coming, what they're going to learn, hitting pain points. And so what I like to do is, typically with all of our emails, I will write like a different pain point in all of these emails. And then I will take those emails and I will create very, very short condensed versions, 2 or 3 liners via SMS. So don't just send SMS that are like reminder SMS. Like, there's zero value. They're not going to be excited, because you're going to get a 20%-ish open rate on an email. An SMS gets a 90 to 95% open rate, or a delivery rate, right? And so while you may be putting all this cool shit in your emails, 20% of people are seeing it, right? And so you want to put that same cool shit in your SMS, right? And so you have to have the art of condensing value into an SMS that you're able to actually send it and get them excited to want to show up, because 90-95% of people are actually going to see that SMS, right? So make sure you stack this with value and reiterate what they're actually going to learn on the event. And the second main thing you want to be doing is you send 3 SMS and emails. 3 of them. Please do not fight with me on this. There are so many times that I have internal members that are like, that's too much, you're spamming people. I'm like, no, we're not spamming people, because I've seen it. If you're using JHL, you've probably had this happen before. JHL just decides to give you an error rate and stop your text messages, right? Or be like, oh, you hit your cap rate today. Sorry, your messages aren't going to send. And so great, the very last 2 SMS that we need to send didn't send, and our show rate is shit, right? And so these 3 right here are the most important ones that you can send to make sure that people actually show up. And what these 3 look like are, we do 8 hours before, and typically with an 8 hour before, it's like, hey, good morning, the event is today. Now, this is if you have a nighttime webinar. If you don't have a nighttime webinar, don't worry about the 8 hour, because if you're like at 12 p.m., like you're not gonna send an 8 hour, right? You gotta make sure you're not disrupting people during what's called quiet hours, right? But you're not gonna send the 8 hour, but if you do have one that's like a 7 p.m. webinar, you send it about 8 hours before in the morning, and it says, hey, webinar is today, here's what you're gonna learn. By the way, here's a testimonial from a student who came to the webinar, right? And you throw a screenshot testimonial into the SMS and email, right? Make sure that you do this. This is one of the most important parts, right? Now, 2 hours, as you come closer to the event, this is when you're also going to send a testimonial. Same exact thing. Hey, we're in 2 hours. We start in 2 hours. Here's Rob, who was able to get X, Y, and Z result using the same system. And the key tip here is if you have like testimonials of people on the webinar itself being like, man, this was such a good training. I learned so much. Your goal in marketing is to take people just to the next step and the next step and the next step. And so right now, these people right now, the step is to get them to show up. And so how do you get them to show up? You have to get them to be interested in actually learning on the webinar itself. And so if you have some testimonials that are really good of people during the event, hyping up the event, throw some of those in there so that they can see, okay, this is worth it to actually show up. And what I like to do on these 2 hours is I like to say, hey, if you're debating spending a couple hours with me tonight, look at what you'll learn, right? And bam, you throw a testimonial in. So you kind of like, you kind of attack it straight on. You're like, hey, you may be debating whether you want to spend some time with me tonight. Look at this person who had this experience on the webinar tonight, right? And then look at this person who got results after they joined our program after the webinar, right? And so those are the things that you want to do in like the 2 hour one. And the most important one, literally the most important one, that if you skip this one, you're not going to get anybody to show up, is your 5 minute, right? Your 5 minute is very simple. It's just, hey, we're starting right now. If you get there early, hang tight in the waiting room until we start at this time. Like that's the message that I love using all the time, is wait in the waiting room, because a lot of times like people will click and they'll just like be sitting there. So be very clear, again, very clear with people. Hey, we're starting right now. Wait in the waiting room until 7 p.m. PST and we'll see you there, right? And so you kind of give them direction as if they get there early, hang tight and wait. But this 5 minute one, you have no idea how many times that something happened to the 5 minute one and our webinar had like a 40% reduction in show rate just because of this 5 minute one, right? So do not be afraid to send 3 the day of and bombard people to make sure they show up. And the third thing you want to do here, and this by far is one of my favorites, is sending a message during the event, the FOMO message, right? So you're going to do the FOMO right here. This FOMO message, essentially, you send it about 10 minutes in, right? 10 to 15 minutes in. And basically what this FOMO message says is, hey, we're on the training, are you here, right? Or you can just put you here, is what we like to do in the beginning, like you here, because somebody will see that. Let's say their notifications pop, says you here, like who the hell is this, right? They open it, it says you here, we're talking about X, Y, and Z, or we're about to dive into X, Y, and Z, hurry up and join. And the key to this one is you need to add a screenshot of the actual presentation, okay? Like the FOMO message works well, but when you add a screenshot, literally, like I do this on all of our clients. Like I watch the webinar, I take a screenshot and I load it up and it sends out. And so they get the FOMO, they see the people on there, they see the presentation happening. And ideally when you take this screenshot, you take it on like a slide that shows results or has some like really cool like text on it or something that's like really, really enticing and intriguing or like teasing that'll get them to want to click and actually show up. This one right here, single-handedly, has boost show rates by I'd say about like 30% of like your show ups come from this message. Like you'll see you have this little curve and then we send this message, you get this jump, right? And that's what you want to look. So right here, you'll have like this curve of people showing up. Right here is like that 10 to 15 and you get this jump up to here, right? And then you typically flatline at about like 30 minutes. But this jump right here would not have happened if you didn't send the FOMO message, right? So make sure you're setting the FOMO. Like this is one of my favorite things to do. So number 1, email, SMS, slam them every single day. Number 2, 3 SMS and email day of. Do not skip this. And number 3, FOMO email, or excuse me, FOMO SMS. You will send this via email as well. Works better SMS, but FOMO email and SMS. This is the one 10 minutes in. And number 4 is where you have pre-webinar communication, right? So pre-web. Pre-webinar communication means outside of your typical SMS and email, you either have you have setters reaching out and having conversations with people pre-webinar. Typically with a setter, what we recommend is they call them, they ask them, you got the links, you got anything, and then they ask them a little bit more about, hey, what are you interested in learning? We're gonna customize the presentation for you guys, so like kind of tell me a little bit more about what you're interested in, right? Let them tell you, kind of build that connection. The purpose of a setter reaching out is to just build more rapport, build more connection with them, and then offer some type of freebie, something that they can't get anywhere else, something that you haven't really given out, and that way you can get what's called the rule of reciprocity. You give them something, you give them value, they feel entitled to show up to the webinar, right? And so what we want to do is build that connection and then rule of reciprocity, get them to show up. And the other thing about having setters do this is that if you have really good setters, not only are they going to do this pre-webinar, but they're also going to do like a reminder as well. And so that reminder can look like 10, 15 minutes before the webinar. Hey, just want to make sure you're showing up today. Here's the link just in case we start in 15 minutes. Like your setters can do this, right? If you don't have setters, you don't want them to do this, it's totally fine. We'll talk about how else you can do it. But the setters right here are really important because they can send the follow-up messages along with your green messages, because they'll be sending it from like a different number, right? Along with your automation, they'll send it from a different number. Plus, you can get these people to then book a call after. So if they don't book a call on the webinar, guess who they have a connection with? Your setters. Your setters can then have a conversation and book them in. By the time they book in, they've had a full phone call with your setter, they've had reminders from your setter, they had another conversation with your setter, booked a call. That person is hot. They are not just a typical webinar warm-up lead that watched for 2 hours. They've had multiple conversations and they watched an entire webinar, right? So one, your setters. Number two, you can actually implement AI into this. Now, I haven't found a ton of really good like full conversation AI that can do this. But you can do some like decent little AI, right? And so if you use some type of software that can basically like start the conversation and then like it can respond a couple times, then that's all you really need, right? Like you don't want an AI to try to have too deep a conversation with them because like I said, I haven't found one that works really, really well because it can actually hurt you more than help you. So the first message that we typically use when we do these types of things, or even when you're just using the conditions, let's say in like Go High Level or an automation where, if they answer this, then send this, the if-thens, basically the first one is like, hey, my name is Michael, I'm this person's assistant, whoever the personal brand, I'm their assistant. We're trying to personalize this presentation for you. What are you interested in learning? And I'll tell them to add it, right? That's the best message that we've found that works really well because you are trying to get them to respond to you, to feel like there's value. Like, hey, I'm not just reaching out to bother you. I'm saying, hey, what are you interested in learning? We're gonna customize this presentation so you get the most out of it, right? And usually, if they respond something specific, you can then send like an if-then, or you have your AI respond again with like another follow-up question, and then just like, sounds great, we'll add it to the presentation. Leave it at about, I'd say, 3 to 4 max, right? Like you don't want too many messages because if your AI goes too long, they're gonna realize it's AI, they're gonna realize it's an automation, and then you've just killed all trust with that person and they're not showing up, right? And so the other thing that you can also do is, this is like a bonus that you can do with all of this, is there's a new software, there's softwares now called SendBlue. There's one called SendBlue, there's one called Link. They're actually blue messages, like, so it looks like it's coming from an iPhone, right? And when you add both of these with blue messages, now you've got like what looks really personal, right? So even if it's a setter and it's from a green message, people still think it's an automation. No one trusts anymore. Everybody thinks it's AI, right? So if it comes from a setter or this AI or just a straight up automation, but it's blue, people tend to believe that it's real. And so when we use blue messages, we're often gonna do like a founder email. And so it basically looks like it's coming from the owner, the founder, the personal brand, and it says, hey, thanks so much for joining the presentation. I'm actually personalizing this right now. Tell me a little bit about what you're interested in, I'll make sure I add it, right? So same thing as you do with the assistant, you do like with the founder, but we love the blue messages because they just feel real. You just get a much higher response rate. Now I know they're a little bit expensive if you looked into them, but they do definitely work. So if you're having trouble with your show rates and you've implemented all of this, those blue messages can definitely make a difference. And so to recap on everything, 1, email, SMS every single day. Do not skip on this. Number 2, 3 the day of, right? Email, SMS 8 hours before, 2 hours before, 5 minutes before. Number 3, the FOMO. This one right here will give you that really, really, really juicy bump during the presentation. Like you could literally add this to what you have set up right now and it will immediately boost by about 20 to 30%. And last is pre-webinar communication. Pre-webinar communication will likely not only get you a better show rate, but will also get you a better close rate and more revenue. Now, this is one of the harder things to implement well because me personally, I'd rather have setters than AI or automation or anything work, because if your setters do it, that means more booked calls are happening after. So if you're like 80% of the coaches and consultants that I talk to that are dealing with this show up rate issue, implement these things right here, and I almost guarantee you'll see it go up. But don't forget the first two things we talked about, your topic and your lead quality. If those aren't fixed, all of these things will not put a dent in your show rate. I hope this was useful. See you in the next one.